Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all an update to my Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Orfist Brontgate deck profile for post-advance of Intertwined Stars. With the release of the third set for Cardfight Vanguard D format, we were given new support for the Orfist deck, which the main focus of this deck is to use the different set orders that we can set up thanks to our boss monster, Cardinal Orfist, and have the option of different card effects. The main one focusing around Shadow Army tokens. These cards can be set up on the field quite easily, giving us a powerhouse against our opponent, being able to then use those tokens either for power boosts for our own cards or to destroy our opponent's cards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, we are running for our starter, the Cardinal Fang Fovi. It's just your go-to when wrote upon. If you went second, draw a card. And then our Cardinal Noid Rotis. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, search your deck for up to one world card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So the world cards are the main focused play in the deck, being all the different cards we set in our order zone. And also for our grade 2, we are running the Cardinal Noid Cubicia. On Vanguard, when a world is put into your order zone, choose one of your units. It gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. You can even choose Cubicia itself if you don't have any other cards on the field. And lastly, our go-to boss monster is Cardinal Orfist. This is your main go-to ride target for the deck. And with it, we are also running the additional copies of the card, including 3 copies of Cardinal Orfist. This is your main go-to card that you rely on for a good majority of your different plays. This card, during your turn, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. And then also for the option, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you can counterblast 2 and call up to 3 Shadow Army tokens to your rearguard. The Shadow Army tokens are these tokens you see here. They have the option of it represents a Shadow Army token. It cannot be put into the deck. It has 15,000 power and critical 1. It's a grade 1, so it can also boost your other units. But being able to call these tokens to the field can set up your main go-to play style for the rest of the deck. So having 3 of this card can rely on the persona riding and also just more and more setup for those tokens. For the grade 2s, we are running 4 of the newest Cardinal Draco Jade. On rearguard, if your world is Dark Knight, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. If it is Abyssal Dark Knight instead of Dark Knight, it gets plus 5,000. And on rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked, you can retire 3 Shadow Army tokens and stand this unit. So if you have this card already at 5,000 power plus, being 15, and you persona ride with your Orfist the following turn, you could put this card at 25,000 on its own, and then also after attacked, retiring the 3 Shadow Army tokens. Let's say you set up in the back row with Orfist to attack with this card, and then restand it again for that additional attack you can use for it. It's very, very scary. It's why I like running for this card. It makes use of the tokens you call out, having the first initial token be the boost for the first attack with this card, and then having that retire power to give you that restand. I also run 3 of the Cardinal Draco Alviderd with this card during your turn. If your world is Dark Knight, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight, 5,000 power. And at the end of the battle, this unit attacked, retire a Shadow Army token, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and retire it. So this is the retire power, while your restand power is in the form of Jade. That's why I have more of this card. It's more of the offensive play style to go up against your opponent, because if your opponent just isn't calling rear guards, you don't really have much of a play, but you can always have the restand power to use with Jade. I would say the biggest problem with these cards, other than the fact that you have to retire 3 rear guards with your Shadow Army tokens with this card, it all comes down to what you want to use for those resources and the additional tokens you may have on the field. And that is it for the grade 2s. Moving on now to the grade 1s. I am running 4 of the Cardinal Noid Thumberino. On rearguard, when this unit boosts a Shadow Army token, you may have this unit get plus 15,000 until end of turn. If you do at the end of that battle, retire all of your rearguards in the same column as this unit and draw a card. Its draw power, it once again makes up for the column with the token, but it'll also come down to the plays of what you can set up in that column, whether it be Jade or your Alverdo. You have the option with Alviderd and Jade for both plays, but also a draw power setup with Thumberino also. Two of the new cards from set 3 I'm also running is Cardinal Fang Rayosea. When this unit is placed on rear, look at 3 cards on the top of your deck, choose up to 1 world card from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And on rear guard, if your Vanguard is Cardinal Orfist, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit to call a Shadow Army token to your rear guard. So it gives you that additional Shadow Army token, which is always a plus. Having the 4 on the field means you can have a 15,000 power token in the front row, having the 3 to then retire for your Destajade as well. Since you're already going to retire the Rayosea, you'll use this card first and then rely on your Orfist to give you 3 additional ones, so you don't have this card on the field when you do that play. And I also run 4 Detonation Mutant Bauble Mine. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted. If your order zone has a set order, put this unit into your soul and countercharge 1. You're definitely going to counterblast a lot thanks to Orfist in this deck. So having a countercharge in the form of Bauble Mine definitely does come in handy, but it also builds up soul for some of the other cards we use in the deck. Being able to rely on this for all of that setup, whether it be your countercharge or just putting into the soul, you have all this available to you as long as you have that world order set. And also for the rest of the grade 1s, I'm running 4 Violate Dragon. It's just the perfect guard for the deck. Then if you have the 2 in the hand, being able to guard with the 1 and having the only other copy means if your opponent does get an over trigger, and let's say this attack blocks the Vanguard and they give it to a rear guard and you need to block that attack, you have that last perfect guard at least to block it. And then I normally say on to the grade 0s, but we still have the set orders to go through. With my ratios, I have 2 of the Howling Moonlit Night. Now, if you wanted to bump up the ratios for this card, you can always drop some of the other numbers we were on the deck. You can consider taking out Rayosea or even your Destajade and dropping it down to a copy of 3 to put an additional copy of Moonlit Night, and maybe 1 Bauble Mine as well. It's a play with a Soul Blast of 1. When you do, draw a card, and order zone, if your order zone has a world card, the following effects are activated according to the number of cards in your order zone. If it's 1, your world becomes Dark Knight. If it's 2 or more, your world becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. That's what they all share with these play setups. I also run 2 of the Eclipsed Moonlight with this card. You play it with a Counterblast of 1. When this unit put into your order zone, call Shadow Army token to your rear guard, and from your order zone, it has the Dark Knight and Abyssal Dark Knight setup just like the other ones. And lastly, for the orders, I also run the 1 in the darkness, nobody knows with it. If your order zone only has world cards, the following effects are activated according to the number of cards in your order zone. And then also, when this unit is put into the order zone, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and retire it. So it all comes down to what you want more: retire power, token setup, or draw power. And lastly, the newest one from set 3 is Overcoming an Eternity. From the order zone, if your order zone has world cards, the following effects are activated according to the number of cards in your order zone. If it's 1, Dark Knight, 2, Abyssal Dark Knight, and in the order zone, your Shadow Army token is placed, that unit gets plus 5,000 power, putting it at 20,000 power, and it's just a continuous effect, so this is really all the one you need for that play setup. Having that power boost for your Shadow Army tokens means if you have 2 in the same row, it's a 40,000 attack. If you Persona road, 50,000, and then if you get a trigger, 60,000. Definitely very, very scary against your opponent. And moving on now to the trigger lineup, I'm running 8 criticals, so 4 of the new Patrol Robo Decker Cop, having the option at the end of the battle, this unit boosted, put it into the soul, choose one of your units, and gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn, and 4 of the Cardinal Draco Barbizoned. It's just the, I would say, most fitting trigger since this is the Orfist deck, and 8 critical can definitely be the pressure you need for your attacks along with your tokens. I also run 3 of the front trigger Cardinal Draco Impero. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it gets plus 5,000 power. So with it, more shield against your opponent. If you wanted to run more like a full copy count of this to have more shield options, you can drop the critical trigger down to 7 and put in a 4th copy of this. With our over trigger being the Star Dragon Deity, Elder Breath, having the option to double the power and critical of all our front row units when we reveal this card. Very, very scary, especially if you got a critical trigger prior. You can just have then 4 damage heading to your opponent if they no guarded the Vanguard attack and you gave that critical to your Vanguard. And then for the heal trigger, the spot taken up by the Cardinal Prima Nabellum, just once again a fitting heal trigger for the Orfist deck. And that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. I actually built Orfist for set 3. I used to borrow it from a friend for the deck updates, but was happy I was finally able to play the deck myself. I was enjoying it and just the overall play style. So, like I said, I'll definitely be playtesting it more in some upcoming matches also. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.